Guardians of the Galaxy. Those lovable intergalactic scamps. Volume 2 just came out over the weekend. Did gangbusters at the box office. Why wouldn't it? Probably the most anticipated film of this year, or probably top 3. The first one in 2014 came out with low expectations. Everyone's saying this is going to be the first Marvel failure. You know what? It was quite the opposite of that. It did better than what anyone could have expected. It sort of broke the mold of the Marvel Universe movie to that point. It was a space adventure. You know, it was basically the tone of what a Fantastic Four movie could be if in the right hands. Both in comedy, in terms of, space aliens, saving the universe, saving the galaxy. A Fantastic Four movie could fit into that mold. Absolutely. So 3 years later, you have the sequel. And then you have James Gunn back, both writing and directing it. And I'm glad that, well, he was given some leeway on the first one to at least develop the story. And then Marvel obviously loved the idea. And then after that success, probably mostly hands off for the sequel, because he earned that credit from the first one, because the movie made a ton of money. People love this franchise. They love the characters now. That before Guardians of the Galaxy, this was a C-list franchise. This was, talk about Cloak and Dagger series coming out. Cloak and Dagger was a lot, and that's far down the Marvel sort of totem pole. Cloak and Dagger was a hell of a lot better known than Guardians of the Galaxy, even before these movies came out. You have the lovable rogue, but then you have a huge tree. You have a little raccoon named Rocket shooting people, saying I'm going to murder you. Drax the Destroyer, and you have Gamora. You have this ragtag group that most people before the first movie came out were like, okay, this is too insane to work on film. People will be turned off. But no, the personalities of the characters, the interplay between them, the fact that it was not what people were expecting at all, if they knew what to expect. I mean, they saw the trailers using 70s and early 80s music, like, okay, this is something weird and different. And that's what got butts into the theater. But for the sequel, I think the expectations were so high that it'd be tough to match it going into the first one, not knowing what you're going to be getting. Besides, you had those wacky trailers for the first one. So it's made a ton of money. I think it made a little more than the first so far. On Rotten Tomatoes, you got 82%, not as high as the first one, but still certified fresh. The critics' consensus: Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2's action-packed plot, dazzling visuals, and irreverent humor adds up to a sequel that's almost as fun, if not quite as thrillingly fresh as its predecessor. Which, to me, is fair. Of course this isn't going to be as fresh. In the first one, you're discovering this, snarky space thief. You have a green super alien assassin. You have a freaking little raccoon killer with a New York accent. You have a killer tree, and you have a muscle-bound, dry, humor-esque character played greatly by Dave Bautista. So you're not going to be able to recreate that magic of getting them together and world building for the sequel. But what you can do with the sequel, and what was done here, was develop all those characters and build upon what you learned about them in the first one, and that's what you did here. So there's going to be some spoilers here. I'm going to have to get into it. But what I was most shocked about when I saw Guardians of the Galaxy 2, and I did enjoy the film, was how much it was driven on character versus plot. The plot is so thin and simple that it's almost meaningless. It's almost just there in order to grow these characters, which is what James Gunn wanted to do. James Gunn obviously loves these characters. Every character, from the normal characters to ones that came back from the original, Yondu, Nebula, we're talking sort of the villains of the first film, are given so much more to do and are so much more integral to the plot and are given all development. Yondu, played by Michael Rooker, was probably the highlight to me in the sequel. Not that he was a throwaway character in the first one, but he's so fleshed out in the sequel and given a very, very dramatic and sensical character arc that it's almost an entirely different movie in terms of tone than the first one. Yes, you still have the irreverence. Drax is played almost solely for laughs in the sequel. And he almost has nothing to do in the sequel, but it doesn't matter in terms of the action of the characters versus their interactions with each other and sort of the emotional bonds they develop and how much you learn about them. And again, everyone's given a chance to do that. The only character I would argue that does not have a real character arc, Drax, really doesn't that much. He's almost just there as the pure comic relief, which is funny because in the original that was more Rocket was the pure comic relief, and in Peter. But then Rocket's given a very, very small character arc that he was almost given just to... You got to have him go through some sort of a, semi-emotional scene. It really wasn't needed, but it kind of works. They wanted everyone to have some development, so I could see that. But Nebula had a nice little arc in development with her sister Gamora. Then, of course, you have Peter learning about himself, learning about what real family is, as he, spoilers, meets his dad, played by Kurt Russell, who's Ego the Living Planet. And again, the plot to me is the weakest part of this film. And in terms of the action, you have the set piece in the beginning played almost for comedy, and it's very original and unique in the fact that your eyes aren't even on the main action. You're on little baby Groot dancing around with the action basically happening in the background, which is sort of playing off of Groot's development from the end of the first film where he starts dancing around to the Jackson 5 song. Which is fine. It's cute. Yes. Is it played for marketing? Is it played for laughs? Sure. Is it overdone? No. Yeah. It really depends on your perspective. Is that too Disney-fied for you? If you want to take that argument, fine. But I didn't mind Baby Groot at all. It was cute to me, and it played into the plot in certain points, the innocence of the character. So I didn't mind that. It wasn't there just as an add-on, like, oh, we'll just laugh at Baby Groot, and now, he doesn't really belong with the rest of the story. No, there's a reason for certain actions here and there with Baby Groot. And now who's now, spoilers, going to be teenager Groot, I guess, in the third film, which to me is an interesting sort of change. But I did see someone complain, oh, this is a Disney-fied Marvel movie. And tonight, that I would ask, I would think you were absolutely out of your fucking mind if you thought that. Are there cute moments? Yes. Are there comedic moments? Yes, as there were in the first film. There is a moment in this film which is probably the most violent I have seen in any Marvel Studios movie to this point. Spoilers, click off if you want to hear it. There is a scene of mass homicide played to a 70s song, which I can't off the top of my head remember which one it is, by Yondu, basically murdering all the Ravagers that turned on him. And yeah, you can say, well, it was self-defense. Okay, it was, but boy, that's a sort of a shocking scene that's trying to be played for a little bit of comedy, where his magic arrow is killing literally dozens and dozens, maybe 100 different people, and then Rocket's shooting some as well. Just people with no chance of survival just getting slaughtered en masse. If you can find that in any other Disney movie, let me know, because that to me, that's not Disney at that point. That's James Gunn doing his thing, and it's a very effective scene, by the way, and it's a beautifully shot. You have the bodies falling in slow motion inside the ship, and while I'm at sort of the all the character arcs, even Yondu's his shipmate who was in the first film, the guy with the little beard goatee, even he has a little bit of a character arc. Even Taserface, the funny Ravager who mutinies against Yondu, he has a character arc. Like, everyone's giving some sort of development, which again, it was almost too much, but you appreciate that everyone goes from a point A to a point B in a movie like this. And again, there isn't a huge amount of action. You have the action in the beginning for 5 minutes, you have the big set piece at the end, and you have a couple of little minor action scenes in the beginning. The murderous rampage of Yondu, not entirely action because it's really one-sided, and then you have Rocket fending off in a funny way, comedic way. He's fending off the Ravagers coming after him for the bounty. That's really it for the film. Kind of shocking, but I don't think audiences are going to care that much because they love these characters already. What I'm sort of scared of is the tone of these movies. And you can say, yes, all the Marvel movies have comedy in them, even Captain America, even Civil War. But that's always sort of under the surface where, like for a movie like Civil War, you needed the comedic elements in order to take the pressure off the drama that was going on. Sort of the heaviness of the plot. When you throw like the Avengers in with Guardians of the Galaxy for these Infinity War movies, they got to be really careful. The Russo brothers, and I'm sure they could pull it off, but they got to be careful not to mix the tones too much between the comedy first and the drama first with comedy underneath, elements. Because there's a lot of drama and emotional scenes in Guardians of the Galaxy 2, but first and foremost, this is a space comedy still. That's also action. It's space comedy with action in it. But I really like this movie. I thought it took risks, being that it wasn't action heavy. Is it a perfect movie? Absolutely not. You can see the quote-unquote plot twist of the villain happening 1.5 miles away. Is there a way around that? Yeah, they could have done that. They could have written that moment leading up to that to be more of a shock. They could have hidden it a little bit more, but it is what it is. No movie's going to be perfect out there. But for what it is, Guardians of the Galaxy gets my recommendation. I think it's worth your time to see that. It's not a Disney movie. When I saw that comment from someone that it was a Disney movie, well, yeah, technically they financed it, but it's not a Disney tone movie. This isn't for kids, even though there's gonna be a lot of families that go and see this. So interesting to see where they lead to the third film from there. And yes, and it is worth sticking around for the 75,000 post-credit scenes. There's actually 5. One has something to do with the plot. One could lead into a spin-off, and then the rest are just for fun, for funsies. So I enjoyed Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. Looking forward to 3. And not looking forward to the Spider-Man movie because the trailer stinks. And the rest of the audience I was with seeing the trailer weren't excited. But Thor Ragnarok, everyone is up. They're excited for that one. So I'm kind of ashamed now that I want to see Thor Ragnarok more than Spider-Man Homecoming, since Spidey's my favorite superhero. I'm going to blame Sony for that, since they still have some control over that. But anyway.